Hello everyone, this is DJ32 and welcome to 52 weeks of deck reviews, which I'm now going to be calling the deck of the week. And every week on Friday I will review another deck. Sadly, I don't have any decks to review for you today because I foolishly reviewed the two last decks that I got just before the end of the year. Even though I knew I should have left one, at least one, to review this week, if not both of them. But as I promised before, I will be doing a video every week, whether or not I have something to review, because I'm sure there will be other times during the year where I won't have something to review. But I will be doing something special today. It's one of your favorites, hit or miss. It's a special hit or miss because I'm going to be looking at all the different Black Friday stuff, Black Friday deals. Let's start with, which one should we start with? Let's start with the Blue Crown. The Blue Crown this year for Black Friday did not release any new decks. They did re-release Crown decks, I think, and some of the other decks, including the Gold Crown, which was like 18 bucks or 17 bucks, whatever it was. Which is good for people who didn't get the Gold Crown before, but for people like me, it just completely lowered the value of the deck even more than it had already been lowered. And also lowered the value of my collector set with the first edition Crown decks even more. To top it off, they did have one of their contests. I don't know. All these websites basically had contests going on for the holidays. I'm not sure if they've ended yet. I'm not sure who won, or if I won, which is highly unlikely. They also did have some tricks, which I think I did order a couple for the hell of it. Just downloads, at least one or two. And they were throwing in some rewards. For instance, if you spent like 350 bucks, you would get a free Luxury Crown limited edition deck of their first printing of that deck. It's not the same as the ones they just released. And they also had, if you spent like 200 bucks, you get a free Gold Crown. If you spent something like that, you would get a Snow Owl from the Artisan decks, and so forth. Personally, overall, I think their Black Friday sale was a little bit disappointing, especially since they didn't have any new decks. At the same time, it saved me some money. It would have saved me some money if I didn't buy the downloads, but it still saved me some money because I didn't have to pay for shipping. So that was a bonus, but at the same time, it was a little bit of a letdown. So as far as I'm concerned, the Blue Crown Black Friday sale is a little bit of a bust for me, a little bit of a miss. However, the House of Playing Cards had a sale, and since all they do is playing cards, they did it, and they did it well. First of all, they had the Heraldry decks, which were from Circle City Cards, which kind of begs the question why they were selling it and not Circle City Cards. At the same time, I was happy about it because Circle City Cards, as far as I know, only accepts PayPal, and that's usually a pain in the ass for me to do. So this is much easier for me. They are some nice decks, as you can see, and I reviewed them. They're a good quality deck, as usual. So definitely a good one. Also, they released this deck, the Curator deck, by Emmanuel Jose. By the way, he's working on another deck, kind of a sequel, I guess, the Clipped Wings, which is probably going to be just as good. And again, it was a really nice deck. I only got one, but no big deal. And it's totally custom, really nice. I love how the deck was designed and everything. And I had no problems with it. And then there was this one, the Yellow Verb deck, which to me may have been a little bit overkill. It wasn't really necessary. And I'm not entirely in love with the color of the deck, but it's still a nice deck. It's still good quality, but personally, I think they should have just left it at the red and blue ones. And I know a lot of people did not pick this one up because they just didn't want any more colors. They felt the first two colors were enough, or even just the first one, and that this was just a little bit too much. And personally, I think releasing a deck with just a color variation like this one for Black Friday is pretty much just trying to, it's pretty much just a cash grab in my opinion. If you just release a deck for Black Friday or Christmas or some other day, some other special event like that, it's just a cash grab in my opinion. But nonetheless, I did pick some up, and they are a nice deck, and I got no problems with them, but probably could have done without the additional color in the bird deck. So overall, for House of Playing Cards, they had some nice decks. No issues getting them, and they had 3 different decks that they released, unlike other companies which only had 1. So overall, House of Playing Cards is definitely a hit for the Black Friday sale, and it's probably my favorite one. Then we go on to, let's go on to Theory 11. Theory 11 released the Artisan, probably some tricks, I don't remember. The Artisan is a really nice deck. They really went to town on this box and created a really nice, unique box. And I like the black, dark black velvety look, the color that they used. This is probably one of my favorite Black Friday releases. It's just a really nice deck. Of course, as usual, like Theory 11, they used basically standard faces on the court cards and the number cards. But I ain't going to complain about that too much. My main issues with this is that I know, based on the fact that they put edition number 1112 on the box, the fact that they put black edition, tells me that they're going to release about 5 or 6 different more, well, okay, realistically, 3 or 4 more colors in this series, which again is overkill. A lot of people do not like to see decks released in multiple colors because it's overkill and it's not necessary, especially in this one. I think this one is really nice. You don't need any more, but the fact that they actually gave this one a color, they didn't, if they just call it the Artisan, it might have been less likely to have future editions. But since they actually went so far as to call it the Black Edition, that tells me that there will be more editions, more colors, who knows how many more. Better than that, it is a really nice deck, even though they didn't customize the faces. The only other issue I had is that they did another thing that is something that Theory 11 likes to do, and that is they threw away a bunch of stuff. Apparently, the tuck boxes did not work out as they had expected. They did not come out as they expected, so they decided to scrap. I don't know where it was, the camera stopped recording, but basically it wasn't until about a month after they made the decks that they finally solved the problem with the tuck boxes and shipped them out. But they didn't bother to tell anyone that there was a problem, or that they wouldn't be shipping these out for a few more weeks until they shipped them out. I don't know if they were embarrassed that there was a mistake or what it was, but they should have told people up front that there was an issue and that there was a delay in shipping instead of leaving people wondering. That was a big issue in my mind. And also, once again, Theory 11 doing what they always do, and that is, I don't know, I feel personally that Theory 11 has massive ego, because it seems like every time they release a deck, they find something wrong with it and they throw it out and redo it, causing delays and other issues. I don't know. Personally, Theory 11 just kind of fell down a few notches in my, well, basically Theory 11 just dropped the ball, basically. And I'm getting tired of them, you know, thinking they're better than everyone else and redoing decks for no good reason. I mean, they did it with the Gold Monarchs, the original Monarchs, and they did it with this, and they've done it with other decks as well. And I'm personally getting tired of it. But, I mean, it is a nice deck, but there was some issues with it. Personally, it was a miss. The deck was a hit. The sale and how they handled everything was definitely a miss. Alright, moving along. Illusionist, which had the Black Artifice. They also had, you know, all the other decks available for sale, and probably some tricks and whatnot. I don't really remember. The only way you can get this deck at the moment and at the time is by becoming a member of their Black Club, which also gives you this black box which you can use to put cards in. It also came with this Halo bracelet, which if you push the button, lights up. It's a little bit tricky to put it on your arm, and it's a little bit tricky to actually hit the light, in my opinion. And you also get I don't know what it is. Well, whatever. You also get a Black Club membership card, which I don't think has any use, except that it has a reveal on it. And this deck, to me, it's nice, but it's a little bit of a letdown. Personally, I like decks that have black faces, but there is a serious lack of color in this deck, in my opinion, and I'm not a huge fan of it. I think that colors on the black background would have really popped. Instead, they went with a bunch of grays and whites. It still looks great and everything, but I was a little bit disappointed by that. And the fact that, unlike the Tyndall deck, unlike the Tyndall deck and the Eclipse and other similar decks, it does not have any borders. It has black on the borders. That means it's going to tip really badly and it's going to suck. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of black decks like this. I think I just spit on my cards. I like what they did with the Tyndall deck from Encarded, how it has black faces and backs, but has a white border on them. It's so much better and really cool. But like this, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's going to be some damage to the cards. And like I said, it's definitely not my favorite Artifice deck. I think the other ones are better. Purple to green, blue to red. And to top it off, the fact that this membership costs almost $150 and all you get is one deck is really turning off a lot of people. I know there's a lot of displeasure with it on the forums, with people on there not liking it. And I'm not a huge fan of it either. They have since allowed members to buy 2 more of these decks, which I have on the way, at $18 each, which is ridiculously overpriced. Personally, in my opinion, with this membership, which is only for 1 year, which is ridiculous as well, for the price you're paying, it should be like a lifetime. So far, with this deck, this membership costing almost $150, the Artifice decks, these black Artifice decks costing $18 a piece, and everything that they're selling in the Black Club members store being fairly overpriced. I think it's pretty much a cash grab, and that they're just taking advantage of the customer, in my opinion. Personally, it's a letdown and it's a miss. And then we got this one, David Blaine, the Split Spades. I apologize if this video is really long. I'll try to speed it up. This one was the split spades from David Blaine, and it's a nice deck. I like it. I like split spades. I'm not sure if the color is my favorite, but I do like it. It's a nice box. It's a nice color, and it was really cheap. He actually released it like a day earlier than they originally stated. And if you caught it, you were able to get these. It was like 2 for $9 or something like that. It was absolutely ridiculous, or even less than that. I think it was a good deal, although shipping was a little bit expensive. And then they sold them again 2 for 11 or $12 after that, when they officially released them. It was a good deal. It's a nice deck. There's no issues. And personally, it was a hit. Although I will say that reprinting a deck like this that he hasn't printed in a while in a different color variation is kind of like the Verve deck. It's a little bit of a cash grab, but it's still a nice deck and it was a good deal. And then, of course, Dan and Davis, Smoke and Mirrors. A lot of people are unhappy with the fact that you can only get this V7 deck with this almost $90 set, plus shipping, which can be quite expensive depending where you live. Or the other way you can get it was with an uncut seat, but they're sold out. And personally, I know some people, myself included, are a little bit displeased, unhappy with the fact that these cards have standard faces. And in the case of this one, they did not, as you can see, possibly see, I'll try to focus in, did not use a stark red color for the pips, nor did they put metallic ink on those pips, or on the court cards, like they did on every other card. So why, I don't know why it is that this V6 deck did not get the same treatment as the other decks. But personally, it's a letdown. And I know a lot of people also are unhappy with the fact that we released all these decks when they've already sold out on them before. People don't want to buy the same decks again, even if they're a little bit different. And they don't like the idea of them making more of the same decks because it kind of devalues the other decks that were released before. And again, I don't know. Personally, I think Dan and Dave made a mistake with this whole set. I do think that this I think it would have been nicer if they just re-released the original decks, give people a second chance to get them if they haven't gotten them before, instead of coming out with a second version of the decks. I also think they should have sold these individually. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think they made a massive mistake in creating 10,000 of these sets. Absolutely ridiculous. But overall, the cards are pretty nice. Again, I don't understand why this one did not get the same treatment with the metallic inks and everything as the rest of the decks, and with the matching color. But other than that, it's a pretty nice set. The cards are nice. It's better than the Ace Fulton's decks they produced before that. But it is a little bit pricey, and ridiculous that they were promoting the V7 all over the place and then they didn't really release it in the end. Overall, definitely a miss. So there you have it, my Black Friday bonanza. I'm starting to lose my voice, so I'm gonna go, but I will say that there was definitely some hits and definitely some misses with this Black Friday sale, which personally I think is just a cash grab anyway. Selling all these decks, pumping them out, just because it's Black Friday. And yeah, as you saw in my video earlier this week, there was a lot of decks that came out last year, and a ridiculous amount of decks, and there's still some missing from that I haven't received yet, so take that into consideration. And I hope that this year they don't release that many because it's just absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, that is Hit or Miss. Hopefully you like it. I apologize if it's really long. But there's a lot to talk about. A lot of displeasure that I have with some of these sites and how they handle things. And, some good stuff, some bad stuff. The good, the bad, and the ugly, if you will. Anyway, I'll stop talking before I lose my voice. And I'll see you next time.